This is the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast, episode 50.
Welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Ken is an internationally recognized marketing expert. This podcast will give you tips on how to market your business more effectively than ever before to help you make more money, whether you're just starting out or have been in business for years. And now, here's Ken Countess.
Hey, welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. This is episode 50. And today I'm with Peter Mehit. Peter is a business consultant who has created over 500 business plans and has raised over $136 million for his clients. He's co-author of The Killer Business Plan and co-owner of CBPS. I'll let him tell you what that is. And he's out of Santa Ana, California. Peter has worked with some very, very well-known companies, including BAE Systems, Hughes Aircraft, Verizon, Raytheon, DuPont, the U.S. Postal Service, Swatch, and many others. So, Peter, welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's great to have you. And before we started recording, Peter and I had a few minutes to chat. We're on opposite ends of the United States. He's on the West Coast, and we're on the East Coast. From here, we call it the left coast. I don't know.
Well, yes, and we understand why you do, so it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to talk today about marketing, both on and offline. And Peter's been a consultant for quite some time, and I know that he's got quite a bit of great, valuable information to share. So, Peter, why don't you go ahead and have at it? Before you were doing what you're doing now as a business consultant, what was the last gig, and why did you leave that?
Oh, okay. Well, that's really pretty simple. It started because of a bad performance review. And I promised myself I would never have a bad performance review again. I worked in a situation where I did high-value outsourcing and process redesign for a major systems integrator. And I was traveling all over the world, coast to coast, being asked for by name by partners all up and down the East Coast. And yet when review time came, because I wasn't based with the people that I worked with, they were in Dallas, I was in California, I was the low man on the totem pole, got the small raise, and got the excuse for review to excuse that small raise. And about 6 months after that, I quit and started this business in 2004. And what's really interesting about all of that is I'm still here, and the company I quit is gone.
Isn't that so?
From a $13 billion company to being merged with Hewlett-Packard. So I think I'll stand on my record. And
it's interesting you say that. I hate to interrupt, but this reminds me of something that happened to me. This had to be in the late 80s, early 90s, where my job was to promote two-way radios to anybody who would buy them, right? I was working for Motorola. And I had one of those similar kinds of performance reviews. I wasn't let go, thankfully, but it certainly put me on the edge and made me think a bit, because what they said to me was, "You're never here. Your team doesn't."
Yeah, exactly. You're never here.
Yeah, you know what? That's because you have me on the road all the time.
Yeah.
And that was back before the days of being able to work remotely. That just wasn't accepted.
Well, and just to clarify, I wanted to clarify here. I wasn't let go. I quit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I the reason I'm saying that, because I'm sure there's a lot of solopreneurs that listen to you.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just getting into business, or people who want to get into business.
Sure.
And you need to take that leap, because otherwise the things that you could be and the things that you could do, you're never going to discover them as long as you're sitting there in that cube or in your office going, gee, I wonder what the guys in sales are going to do. I hope they come up with a way I can make my paycheck. So,
yeah. And it is a leap of faith when you leave that salary position and go off on your own. But clearly you've been successful.
Yeah. It's been really great. The water's fine. Jump on in. And I will tell you, the number one thing that you have to master in any business is the question you have to ask yourself is, who is your customer? Who is your customer?
Right.
If you're selling to anybody or everybody, you're selling to nobody. And so you've got to figure out who it is that you're selling to from a demographic perspective, from a psychographic perspective. What do they like? What do they do? What do they do? Where do they go? Who are their friends? Where do they live? You need to paint as complete a picture up to what Best Buy used to do with the 5 profiles, which was the soccer mom, the tech person, the business person, and they filled them out as much as possible, down to and including the language they would use when they would come into the store, so that they could teach their employees how to handle all these different customers. Mm-hmm. You need to do likewise, because the thing that I see with businesses, and we've worked with thousands of them now, the ones that prosper are the ones that identify tightly to a core customer. You'll get the other people around those customers eventually. But in the beginning, you've got to speak to people, because if they don't see themselves in your marketing and in your advertising, they're not going to buy from you. It's just not going to happen.
Sure. So tell us, Peter, what excites you about what you do?
I love seeing things come together, coming out of nothing, being created out of nothing. It's I started my career in petrochemical, and I was a piping designer, project manager, and seeing things get built just turns me on. And now doing what I do today, seeing people come out of a corporate situation or coming out of jobs or just being like solopreneurs and wanting to grow and do something bigger, that is challenging, fulfilling, engaging, and exciting. And so to me, it's like, I'm going to die with my boots on. I'm going to work till I die, because the people give me life, keep me young, keep me engaged and awake and alert and involved in life, because they're seeking for something. And now that I've been doing this for 14 years and really 30 years as a consultant, there's not very much I haven't seen, although I still come up with stuff that I still get confronted with stuff that stumps me. But that working that process out with the client is, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than that. And so I am exactly where I'm supposed to be and what I need to be doing, and just really excited about it.
So that's awesome. Now, I know you've written 500 business plans. You've helped raise $136 million. Can you give us a couple of success stories about businesses that you've worked with?
Well, the one that is on the cusp of being probably one of the biggest ones we've ever done is, there is a company called Alien Fresh Jerky in Baker, California. They're building a UFO hotel. It's literally looks like a UFO. Wow. And if you Google UFO hotel, you can see it. And Louis Romalo, who is the owner of Alien Fresh Jerky, who has a tremendously successful business making millions of dollars selling nothing but hot sauce and beef jerky by the roadside in the middle of the desert, came up with this concept. And he's on the cusp of being funded. And he's got about half of the project built, and that's amazingly exciting. We've helped dozens and dozens of brick and mortar businesses get started. We have an app called Draft Card, which you can download from iTunes or the Google Play Store, which helps kids put their athletic achievements online. We have an application that we worked with called Iron Ride, which is a community for Harley Davidson riders, which is enormously successful. So, I mean, I don't know. There's so many of them to pick one out of a hat and say, wow, this was the greatest thing we did, because each one of them had their own challenges that makes each one of them special. But what I would say to your audience is, the thing that I find in common with businesses that succeed as opposed to the ones that don't is the businesses that succeed have a clear vision of what they're doing, and they take the time to figure out the steps they need to take to get to where they want to go.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. One of the things that we had scheduled ourselves to talk about today was marketing both online and offline. So my question then is there a sweet spot, in your opinion, where one type of marketing makes more sense for some businesses as compared to others?
I hate to give you the consultant answer, but I'm kind of forced to, because every situation is a little bit different. I mean,
course.
If a business is online, but here's the thing that's really interesting, and this was I want to say Kennedy Consulting, and also if you go out to marketingcharts.com, they also kind of do a breakdown on it, and CompuSec, I think, was the other one. Business spending among businesses $100 million or more are evenly split between online, social media, old media, and actual events and customer touch events. Mm-hmm. So things like conventions and special customer events. And so what I would say is, if it's an online company, look at what you see. You've got Trivago, hotels.com, Uber. They're all doing television. They're all on radio. Yeah. And so the important takeaway from that is SEO, social media are not the end all be all. And people want to say that they are, but they're not. In reality, you need to have a mix of tools based on your customer. Back to what I said before. Generation X loves direct mail. You go to some marketing people, oh, direct mail is dead. Don't use direct mail. Direct mail is hugely successful with Gen X because they'll go look at your direct mail piece. They won't call you off the direct mail piece. They'll go look at your website, and then based on what they see at your website, then they'll come to you. Now, millennials, yeah, it's mostly social media, but it's not doing Facebook ads. They're not on Facebook. They're on Instagram.
That's right.
Right? So you need to go find stuff on Instagram and promote yourself on Instagram. Well, guess what? Instagram makes it really tough to market. So then you have to find creative ways to do it. Now you're moving into the actual live real world space where you're doing events. Like say we have an app called Tending, which is a thing that matches bars up with their bartenders up with their patrons. They're doing tons and tons of live events, mixers. They get more downloads from doing a mixer than any SEO campaign they ever try. Right. And so you've got to take those tools and test. Because what worked for one company may not even work for you. And you may find it's the weirdest thing in the world that gets people to, like I have a business literally that we all thought that their SEO and social media would be what would do it for them. And what worked out for this woman to promote this corporate gifts business was good old-fashioned cold calling. Finding out who the power person was, getting through the door, cold calling. She got appointments, she got things, and the business blew up. It was not what we planned, but we tested SEO. We tested it, the results were bad, and we were going, oh, how is this going to work? And then I said, hey, you know about 5 or 6 companies where you know where the decision makers are. Do the shoe leather approach. Mm-hmm. Guess what? It blew up. So I think all of those tactics, social media, all that stuff, it's tempting to think that it's good. It's kind of like the Holy Grail because it's easy, right? Mm-hmm. All I do is put money into AdWords or into Facebook ads, and if I get the right message and I have the right landing page, people are going to buy. But again, you go back to the generations and what really moves them, and the industry. What is the typical practice? Like, for example, if I want to talk to physicians about a new piece of medical equipment, because we worked on many medical devices over the last 5-6 years, the best way to get in front of them is at a convention.
Right.
They don't really read. They're busy at work, then they go home and they relax. They're not reading their mail, their office staff is. They're not doing any of that. The best way to get to them, we worked on 2 ocular devices, which were really high tech for discovering diabetes through looking at the back of the eye. And the whole marketing plan hinges on 4 conventions. Mm-hmm. And if you get in those conventions and you get a speaking slot, either in a breakout or a keynote, you're going to blow the business up because everybody's going to write about you in all of the journals. So there is no one way. The thing that you need to do is look at the people that are in your market. Like, and for example, if you're a startup web business, your competition is not Google. Your competition is not a big advertising house. Your competition are all the people that are about your size, a little bit bigger, or where you're aspirationally going. Go study how they market and then test. I cannot say this enough. Test, and be honest about the assessment, and don't do big home run tests, little small tests. Why? So you can do a bunch of them until you're sick of them.
That's excellent. Great advice. Really, truly great advice. Peter, where do you find most business owners are most challenged in growing their business?
Marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. Sure. Marketing. It's not anything else. I mean, most business owners know how to run their business. Most business owners know how to deliver their product. Most know how to handle customers and clients. It's the marketing piece. It's getting people through the door, because marketing and sales are not the same thing. Marketing is, I get you interested enough so I can get you to the point where I can sell to you and close you.
That's the lead generation.
Yeah, it's a lead generation. And so, for example, our business, our close rate is like 85%. If I get across you from me on a table and we're talking, I'm probably going to close you. But selling what we sell, because it's very transactional, it's a much more difficult sell to get people in. So we have to find what are the pain points, and those pain points keep shifting depending on the economy, depending on what banks are doing. So there's all these different factors we have to pay attention to. But I think that what happens to businesses, a lot of them, is they have early success, which is deadly. And they get locked into, hey, you are old enough to remember when, if you had the top spot in the phone book, that's all you needed to do.
Right.
It used to be really simple, right? Or if you had the top left-hand corner, the first place where they did ads on the sports page in the newspaper, that's all you had to do.
Right.
Now, it's not that anymore, because now people want to be sold to about their individual values, what they like, what they dislike. They want to be spoken to. They want to be included in a story that includes them and makes sense to them. And I think that that's why I go back to my number one thing that I preach on is customer identification, really knowing who that is. Because once you're in business for a couple of years, especially if you do any kind of consulting work, the customer that you get will surprise you. It's not the customer that you think you're going to get at the beginning.
That is so true. That is so true. I can certainly vouch for that. So what are some of the things that you think both experienced and newbie business owners should know about marketing their business?
I think that they need to understand, first of all, what their internal value proposition is in relationship to how it relates to what customers want. Mm-hmm. There's a great line from the series Ad Man that says, what advertising is about is happiness, right? It's not even about what problem you're fixing. And it's certainly not what features your product or service has. It's about how does it make your customer's life better? What does it do to make it so they have more free time, they have more money, they feel better about themselves, they feel better about the world they're in, they feel better about chances for success. So again, going back to the customer, because I'm always going to go there, what is it that they want? Because sadly I learned it's not about me. They don't care about me. But if I can find out what they care about, then I've got a chance. I got a prayer to sell what I do to them. And so the first thing that you have to do is figure out who those people are, and then look at what is you're selling. And by the way, if you have the chance to do it, build what you're selling based on what they want to buy, as opposed to finding something to sell and then trying to convince somebody to sell it, to buy it. Yeah.
Excellent. So listen, on that note, you've really put out some really outstanding advice. What's the best way for people to reach you? This is time for your shameless promo or plug.
Oh, I am absolutely shameless, because I am the best at what I do. And there's no doubt about it. I've got a million testimonials to it. They can reach me. They can see our website at www.custombps.com. They can reach me personally at pmehit, at custombps.com. I will respond to your email personally. You can call me at 800-741-8444. We have customers all over the country and all over the world. I actually did some work in Switzerland this January. So, and I want to offer everybody watching this podcast and listening to this podcast, if you either send me an email or call me on the phone, I will give you an electronic copy of our ebook, Killer Business Plan, which is a practical book about how to write a business. First, choose a business, figure out if it's going to make money, and then write the plan to support getting the money and launching it. I will give that away free to anybody who contacts me.
Fantastic. Thank you. Peter Mehit, a guy who's written 500 business plans, helped businesses raise $136 million in capital. Thanks so much for joining me on the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast.
Thank you so much. It was really great. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hey, that's it for this week's episode. Don't forget to check out our brand new Email Marketing Online Academy. It's www.marketyourbusiness.co/email-academy. That's where you'll find out more. Check out all of our episodes of the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. It's on our website, marketyourbusiness.co, look for the podcast tab, and there you'll find all previous episodes. And while you're on our website, don't forget to check out all the other resources and sign up for our weekly newsletter too.
Thanks for listening to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Be sure to visit marketyourbusiness.co to access show notes, discover our fantastic content, and sign up for our mailing list. Have questions? Send Ken an email, ken@thecountessgroup.com, or Twitter @CountessGroup. See you next time.
If you need help with this or anything else related to marketing your business, reach out to us.